Hello, I'm James Dorrington. This is the GRC Community Podcast. I'm joined today by Adam and Omni, which I'm very excited about. Adam is the CRO of the General Bank of Canada. And today, mostly we're going to talk about using risk to enable business, or risk enabling business, which sounds intriguing, Adam. So I'd like to find out more.
For sure. As a chief risk officer, I take an approach of basically partnership with strategy. We see risk as the logical twin of strategy. Essentially, what it means is that we help unlock business use cases instead of saying no upfront or saying what can go wrong. Yeah. And we've really focused on helping process information, going from hearsay to facts in order to make decisions faster. And when you make decisions faster, you maximize the available value to the business, right? Yeah. And based on that, you're able to understand your environment. You're able to understand basically what matters the most to your business. And then going back to risk, you're able to make decisions faster. And it's actually a virtuous circle. Yeah,
because we hear this term a lot as well, don't we, in risk as risk managers of like business prevention officers. Or yes. Blocking business being the ultimate approval, which I find quite a strange concept, particularly when risk can be used to actually know where to focus, where to take more risk, as opposed to trying to talk about mitigation and playing it down all the time. But this is something different. This is talking about almost unleashing value by utilising risk in the right way.
No, exactly. It's all about making the right decisions. I've been in situations where a business deal for like an M&A expansion would come our way as a risk team to do a due diligence, but it would already come with like a pre-made decision of not doing it. Yeah. Because of hearsay, because of magnifying issues that are
and not having the facts.
Exactly. So our team would actually go on a discovery mission, fact-finding mission, to get the story right, to demagnify anything that has been magnified, and to basically say, you can actually go ahead and basically make more money, make an expansion, and be able to buy this business because your concerns has just been exaggerated. Yeah, and actually, it's a really good business.
Yeah, yeah, and I guess there is an element of kind of building trust in that relationship internally, which then would sort of permeate through the firm and even externally to the outside world, shareholders and things like that.
No, absolutely. Trust actually reduces the cost of every transaction. And when your firm or your company projects trust, you're able to bring more business, more value, and basically it's contagious, right? Yeah. And when you have a strong risk function, right? When you have the right controls in place and the market knows about it, the word travels fast. Yeah. And basically, you are able to indirectly contribute to growth in a very responsible way.
Yeah, yeah, because we talk about things like reputation a lot, and you and I have an opinion on reputational risk, for example. But I think that the trust is kind of, I think, the right word when people talk about reputational risk and reputation. Really, it's trust that we're talking about, isn't it? And it becomes commoditizable if you get that right.
No, absolutely, yes. It's a currency. Trust is the currency for business. Yeah. And when I hear about reputation risk, you're totally right. I always like to challenge that because it's much more complicated than that. Yeah. When I present my taxonomy now to committees, I always like to say that trust is reputation risk on steroids, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because at the end of the day, trust is 360, right? Yeah. You want trust in your systems. You want trust in your people, in your processes. You want to project that. But you, as a firm as well, you trust your employees. You trust your information. You trust your products. And when any of these elements, of these components are at risk, then that's where you need to be worried. Yeah. But you have to act on the root cause, not on the reputation at large, because at the end of the day, if there is no so what, there is nothing.
Yeah, absolutely. So you talked before about being able to convert a tricky situation where the business wanted to engage in a transaction, felt naturally risk averse to that until you presented certain facts and built that trust into the transaction.
Exactly.
What techniques did you use to bring that out? So obviously you would have used some sort of evidence or ways of measuring or metrics or something to put that back in front of them to build their trust. So how did you do that? What did you use to do that?
So data is always a very neutral way to gain trust because you're showing facts and not hearsay. And the zoom out. I like to call it the zoom out too, because
what we used to call the 30,000 feet.
Exactly. Like you zoom out and you show the different components that will go right, not might, but will,
right?
Because the data proves it.
Yeah.
A blue ocean of a market is basically a proof that you're the first there, so you will do right if you do things as planned. And then compared to what can go wrong, and can here is the word. You have a net value if you have the right assumptions. That is very positive. And at the end of the day, you have a very strong rationale, very strong story to tell, and you don't have to start big. You can start small and scale. And allow your time
to prove the point.
Exactly.
And then you can use it for bigger things later.
Absolutely, yes. At the end of the day, it's about doing it, right? And the cost of not doing it as well is a really good tool.
That's a great point,
But I would start with the benefits of doing it, and then the costs of not doing it. And then they have the full story. And at the end of the day, again, finally, one last tool to build trust is to give options. Because at the end of the day, you can choose to do nothing. I'm here to advise, not to tell you what to do. And when you build your reputation as a risk function, as an advisor, rather than a do-teller, then you will basically contribute directly to decisions, and you'll be called for decisions without having to fight for a seat at the table. You just guarantee it with the trust that has been put in you.
You become a trusted advisor.
Exactly.
Absolutely. I think it's really fascinating, actually, that in your experience as a CRO and a risk manager, small r, small m kind of thing, that you're engaged in that way. That must be quite refreshing to be involved in potential business transactions like that. So that's refreshing to hear, actually.
Absolutely, and it's all about the attitude. I always like to say that CRO can be the best job in the world or the worst. The good news is that it's up to you, right? And up to the attitude that you have about the leadership that you project. And if you project a leadership that is oriented towards growth, responsible growth, you will naturally gain allies. Because at the end of the day, it's all about protecting your ability to be prosperous as a business, rather than just protecting what you see.
Do you see, because obviously what the natural assumption listening to a CRO, get involved in these sort of potential transactions, etc., what people might assume is that that's very financial risk driven. But do you see some of the more enterprise or what we might call traditionally operational risk mechanisms involved in that decision making as well? Things possibly like KRIs or risk assessments that you may have used in order to help the business come to a decision?
Absolutely. We use everything that actually can show options and clarify the decision. It's all about clarifying the decision for the business and making it as easy as possible, right? And we use the financial elements because, of course, that's the bread and butter, right? Finance is basically how a company breathes, right?
And numbers with a dollar sign in front is very easy to get your head around.
Absolutely. But then if you actually add the qualitative elements, the qualitative forces, and that you show that you understand that, right? That adds an additional layer that can bring a lot of context to a decision.
The interpretation.
Absolutely. So I've been in situations where, yes, the numbers were perfect. They were just maybe even too good to be true, right? But then we would add those elements of non-financial risks, like geopolitical risks, right? Like, a good business opportunity in a country that was stable 5 years ago wouldn't sound like a really good idea now if it's torn by war.
Yeah.
And these things we don't have any control over.
Yeah.
So the only control is information.
Yeah.
And scenario analysis and ERM, KRIs, metrics that we actually can use to make decisions.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting that you mentioned scenarios as well, because when I first started out in the field, scenario analysis was very much, it felt like a bit of an interesting exercise of, really pushing the limits of the really bad stuff that might happen. But I'm smiling, but unfortunately, the way the world has gone in the past 5 or 6 years, they're now becoming more of a reality. So, it's more of an observation really rather than anything that we're necessarily talking about today. I think this was a really interesting chat, Adam. I really appreciate it. And thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Cheers.
Great conversation.
Thank you.